good.
So you're still saying?
Yeah, I mean, my mom, when she finally tells me stories as I got older,
Mm,
right? She tells
mm,
me how painful it was for her, how hard
mm,
it was for her to
mm.
send us. It's really an immigrant story, right? Right. Like
It
you're talking
is.
about, we know people in
Mm,
Zimbabwe know their story, but they don't
mm.
necessarily understand the breadth of the sacrifice that it takes
That
for
it takes.
individuals who leave, right, and go
Yeah.
to other countries, and they just see you're in America, you must have money, or it must
Thank you.
be great, right? It's like,
Exactly.
it is not that simple.
Right.
My mom could not get welfare. She couldn't qualify for
Oh,
welfare. So she was raising children, multiple children.
yeah.
And so my father, who's an artist, was in and out, right? So
Yeah.
DUMISANI MARAIRE, great artist, but he's in
Yeah.
Africa, and he's in Europe, and then he's
Oh,
in Japan, and then
yeah.
he's all over the world. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
it's not like he's right there,
Right.
And so it was an interesting upbringing, but
Right.
as you said, I was really, really grateful
Mm-hmm.
for what she gave me and what she forced. She forced me. Uh,
Right.
you are going through
So
that.
I have a question though, when you say that, because as a man, we hear women mature faster than men, usually, right? When did you come to the realization that, you know what, it's not, she had to make the tough decision? I went through exactly what you're saying. There's a moment I hated my mom. How can you leave me when I was 13 in my prime, when I needed to know how to be a woman? I am the only girl. I took care of my dad. He got sick. I took care of my brother. I became a mom at 16, right? Right. And right now is I've been taking care of myself. But you have this thing. I was mad for a long time until I was like, wait, do you think as a parent she wanted to leave her kids? Do you think as and when with you as a man, when did you come to that realization to say, you know what, it's a huge sacrifice that she had to do and it's okay,
Yeah,
right? We need, it's only now, make the most of the time that you still have with each other,
yeah, yeah.
right?
I think I think I'm still
Mm,
grasping it, right? So I could
yeah.
love to say at every
Mm,
age that understanding grows, deepens, and
mm,
changes. And so when I was 20 something and she first
mm,
told me,
mm.
I'm like, yeah, whatever, right? I think I
Right.
wanted to hold on to my hurt and my pain. I'd become
Oh
comfortable
man.
with my trauma, right? You get comfortable with your pain, right? And it's
Mm,
sometimes easier to believe the worst of people than it is to believe the best.
the
And
best.
then over time, I think as I grew as a man, as I
Mm,
grew as and matured as a parent, and I
mm,
started making tough decisions myself, and I started going, "Oh, okay, I get it. This is really tough." And there are some decisions that there's almost no way I could explain to my daughter why
mm,
I did what I did. She's
mm,
get older, I'll tell her, but I won't be
mm,
able to properly articulate all of the parameters around why that decision was made. And I don't
mm.
know that it was the best decision. It was
Right.
what I did at the time. It was me
Right.
doing my best. So
Yeah.
was it the best decision? Maybe not, but it was me doing my best with what I knew to do.
What you need to do. And there's no manual for being a parent, is what I'm
Oh,
learning too, right? There's no manual for that. And, I even got to a point where I'm like, Lord, I am not going to have a kid until I know. Until I know that I'm ready. However, and people say you'll never be ready. I get that, right? But then at the same time, I've gotten to a point where I'm like, I am not separating with my kids no matter what. But then at the same time, you're like, I want to take them home so they know. Like you're thinking, okay, so what kind of parent are you gonna be?
yeah. It's funny for me because I've lived most of my life in America. It is
Yeah,
what it is, but
it is.
I
Yeah,
want my daughter to go back now, right? And so it's
I
like
like
I'm
that.
in the same position as you, where
Right.
you say one thing, and it's like, well, how bad do you want it, right? And you can't have everything. You can't, and financially, you can't have it everything, and then, it's a really parenting, that one of the dopest things you said was that it doesn't come with a manual.
No,
This
it
thing is
doesn't.
hard.
It
Okay.
doesn't.
And the world is getting weirder and weirder.
Yeah.
So, parenting is like there's no way I would be trying to have my wife spit out a kid right now. No way.
I
right
know.
now.
And you know what's even funny? Our generation has this whole thing. Hold on, I need to think. You know, compared to back in the day, I know right now, even my mom to her is, I need you to get married because I want you to have babies. I'm like, guess what? When I get married, I'm not going to have babies right away. That's exactly what I'm not going to have babies right away until we figure out living together as two different people first. And then we can talk about, are we able to bring munchkins in this world? Are we able to financially, what are we doing? Where are we going? And you never know life, right? You never know.
What you just said is very smart.
Right?
I mean, as a man who's lived in a home, something happens when you get in them four walls, man. She turns into a monster, you turn into a monster, man, and it just goes crazy. Right. And so I always say, like, yo, take your time. It's no hurry. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's hard, but you can't. Trying to talk to single people about what they should do is a waste of time. Like,
oh, trust me, it is a waste of time.
Everybody has their mind made up. They got it all figured out. And then they get married and they got a bag full of regrets. So it's all good.
I like that. And this was such an amazing intro to me. I love it. And we're going to have to talk more because there's a project that I'm actually doing in regards to exactly your story, which is actually my story, and it's actually out of After 5 Radio. I totally love your story. I love it. I love it. I love it. But with that being said, just to bring our listeners up to speed with your upbringing, you've kind of brought a little bit about it, but who are you, as in all that, the fun stuff? Like, okay, we know Draze. Who's Draze? Why Draze? What's his actual name? What's his legal name? Let's start from there.
All right, let's start with Draze and then we'll work back to the legal name. So right. Draze is a name. When I was in high school, I got a partner that I rapped with. His name was Little J the Fever. And I rapped with him, and he used to walk around every day in high school and be like, yo, you so Drazy. And he would be like, yo, you so Drazy, you so Drazy. Okay. And before I knew it, everybody was calling me Drazy, right? And so it just kind of grew and it stuck with me. And in the hood, everybody just be like, yo, what's up, Draze? Or what's up, Drazy? You know what I mean? And then the ladies would say Drazy, dudes would be like Draze. So it's whatever. And then he passed away. So he was so sorry. So he was stabbed and killed, but rest in peace, Lil J the Thief. And then after that, I was like, well, I'm never gonna leave that name, right? Just because it's how I keep him alive, right? Yeah. But at this point, I allow people to call me Draze, or by my, as they say, government name, DUMISANI MARAIRE Jr., right? And so I am the son of DUMISANI MARAIRE Sr., Abraham DUMISANI MARAIRE. Nice. And so, my pops was the marimba, mbira giant. He was credited with bringing marimba and mbira to America. Wow. And he sparked a movement here in America that is, to this day, that is massive. If you go around America, there are marimba bands everywhere. They still play music. And they still, they have Zimbabwe Music Festival here in America. I mean, there's a lot that he planted out here. And it actually started in Seattle. So that's me. And then also I'm the little brother of Chioniso. A lot of people know my big sister. R.I.P. to her as well.
Oh, and sorry about that.
Making me the uncle of Changeto and Amara. And you know what I mean? So that is me. Let's rock and roll.
Wow. No, that is so awesome to know. Wow. That is so great. So what made you move to LA, or when did you move to LA? Like, are you doing music full time? Is that your bread and butter, or like, why LA?
So, about 5-6 years ago, I moved to LA because it was really opportunities. I'm a writer. I'm a Maraire. So it's in the blood. Obviously, it's in the blood. Everybody does music in some way, shape, or form. And so I had an opportunity to start writing music for television. And so that door opened up and I started writing songs So to this day, I have probably in the last year over 100 credits. And so you could say Love and Hip Hop, Empire. I did a commercial for Speedo.
As in Empire, as in Cookie Lion Empire.
That's the one. That's the one.
Okay. Okay.
Most recently, right now, if you look at it's #1 today in America. The show is called Who Killed Sarah. I'm on that.
Yeah. I saw it on. I think I saw it on YouTube. I mean Netflix. It just came on Netflix, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. Or is it Netflix or TV? I don't remember. Yeah.
So on episode 10, I'm on that show. I've done T.I., Family Hustle, The Voice, The Masked Singer, NBA TV, NFL TV. I really it was a blessing for me to move to LA because my gifts were valued, right? In Seattle, there's not a whole lot of outlets. I moved to LA and all of a sudden, I'm one of the top writers for television in the country. And so there is I was recently nominated for writing the best song on television.
Nice.
It was a song that I did for All American, which is another song on Netflix.
Can I watch it? The one with Tay Diggs. I love that. I love it. Yeah.
I did 3 songs for that show. So
really awesome. Which episodes? Like one of the first or?
Actually, I was on the inaugural episode, like the first episode of All American. If you go, there's a scene where Tay Diggs is sitting in the car with, I don't know the other dude's name, but they're sitting in the car. And so I did a song for that. And then I did like 2 other songs in season 1 right there. So, yeah, I've been blessed to be able to work with a lot of shows in Hollywood, commercials, stuff like that.
Oh no, that is awesome and great work. I am in shock. I didn't know who I was talking to, and this is the moment that I say, Andy, we need to talk. Like, really, you need to give me a heads up sometimes. No, but that is so awesome, and I am so proud of you. Like, it's one thing to see how people right now, how Zimbabweans think. Some people are limited. To say, oh, I can't do this because of my resources and stuff like that. You can start from somewhere. I believe you can start from somewhere. You never know, right? And then you doing it that great, that big, like it motivates other people, right? Who are also trying to get into the industry or even just trying to do it, right? Yeah. But yeah, it is, I am in shock.
It's dope here because like I'm a part of these other groups too that are like as Zimbabweans, we have these chat groups that are like all of us are in LA, but we're all Zimbabwean, and so we talk to one another all the time and we support one another. There's actresses and rappers and producers and
nice.
It's something different about being here when you're not back home and you're here. You support each other a little more because you're all you have, right? And so you start to feel like, well, why don't we help each other out, right? Why don't we figure out ways to do it? And so I've met so many Zimbabweans here that I'm like, yo, we're out here in LA. We're kind of thick. You know what I mean? So
right. It's kind of but then the fear though, like I hear the living expenses there, like I don't know. It's not so cool. It's not so easy. It's like Vancouver type of thing, and you're thinking you better be somebody when you're in LA. You better be somebody when you're in LA, really.
Listen, Linda, okay, you better have your paper right. If you're trying to come here, rent is not a game out here. I'd be like, yo, how much do you want me to pay for what? Right. Yeah, it's different, but Lord willing, you work hard. If you're good at your craft and what you do, you'll make enough money, you'll pay your bills, but more importantly, you'll create a framework for you to be able to touch the world, right? I'm here in LA. And they're playing my music on ZFM and Star FM, and you know what I mean?
And After 5 Radio.
Yeah, radio, right? And then
what's even funny, I am now, now that Andy has mentioned that you did the Michael Jordan documentary, and I remember a lot of people say we have a Zimbabwean who did a Michael Jordan documentary. I'm like, which Zimbabwean is that? Like, we want to know which Zimbabwean is that. You don't. Sometimes you just let things pass. You're like, Evan, you're just saying whatever and whatever. So now Andy's telling me, oh yeah, he did the Michael Jordan documentary. So what? Okay, now that's the guy.
You know what? A lot of what I do, what I did was like a mixtape movie for them. It was super dope. I was excited. But a lot of what I do is it's under the, it's not something that you're gonna get a lot of notoriety for. You're gonna pay your bills though.
Right?
And that's super important, right? So you're gonna be important. Yeah, you're gonna be able to send some money home to your grandparents, right? So exactly. You start making money, you can take care of people. But in all honesty, you're gonna, what I do is not glamorous all the time. You're writing for clients. It's what they want, the business. It's not about my names. I write a bunch of stuff that I don't even sing or rap myself. I write it for somebody else and say, look, why don't you do it? Especially if it's whack. Sometimes these companies they'll ask me for something super whack. These companies will be like, yo, can you write something? So I just take you in. I'll take you into the story. I get a deck and I get an email with what they want, right? So they'll say, we want to write a scene for a show. Here's the scene. They set the scene and they tell me what they want the song to sound like, right? And then sometimes they'll send music and say, can you write to this, right? And the music is trash, right? And I'm sitting there like, yo, how do I do this without ruining myself? I don't want people to think I'm whack, but this track, this track is whack. So what I do is I find someone else. I write it and I say, hey, do you sing this? I'll pay you X dollars. I give them some money, they do it, and that's it. That's it. And I don't, and it's a great opportunity for the other artists because they get their voice heard on television or stuff like that. You know what I mean? And then it's great for me because I get my publishing and I get my money, and it's a win-win for everybody. So
So for a writer, there's the question, which is, I never thought of really. For a writer, do you need an agent for that? How do you get your work out there? Like as in writing for people and having to write for television, for that matter, documentaries, all these big shows. Do you need an agent, or how did you figure that out? Or start off?
By definition, an agent is nothing but somebody telling somebody about you, right? So do you need an agent? And yes and no, right? You need everything in the world is somebody opening the door for you. Even Jesus had John the Baptist who said, yo, this is the Son of God, right? So
I like your example.
I mean, you know what I mean? So everybody has somebody to be like, yo, this is and so do we need somebody? Yeah, you need somebody. Do you need an agent? Not necessarily. I don't have an agent. You know what I mean? So what I do, I mean, I'm a part of a team, but I don't have an agent. And so my experience, my break in this part of the industry came, I was on a trip. I was living in Seattle and I took a trip to LA. My god sister writes for all these different people. And she took me to the studio one day and she was like, yo, these dudes need a rapper to write something. And this was like years ago. Like, you write something that sounds like some particular group, right? They asked me to write it. At the time, it was the old school hip hop group Mobb Deep. I don't know why. They're like, can you write something Mobb Deep? I was like, yeah, cool. So
and I go to the studio. Deep.
It was hot. They were hot. Shout out to Mobb Deep, Shook Ones. So I wrote the song. And then the guy, after I wrote it and did it for him, they were like, yo, this sounds just like Mobb Deep. I'm like, well, that's what you asked for. So I wrote it what you asked for. And they were like, okay. And that was it. Nothing, I wasn't thinking anything. I was just writing it for them to be nice and to work. When you're in LA, you just need to be working. And so next thing I know, about 3-4 years later, they called me out of nowhere and were like, hey, can you write a song? And I'm like, they're like, you still writing? I'm like, yeah. So they, at that point, they were like, can you write us something that sounds like Drake? And I was like, sure. You know what I mean? Send me the beat. And they sent the beat, and the beat really sounded like a Drake beat. So it was easy to write. So I wrote the song and I sent it back to them, and they fell in love with it. They're like, yo, this sounds like Drake. And then they were like, all right, we need to keep working with you. I had no idea who they were and what they were into. Well, it turns out they were one of the top writing teams in the country for writing music for television. And then I became their top hip hop writer. And because of that, now I'm writing stuff all over the world. And, you know, we built a strong relationship now. We've been working together now almost a decade. So.
And talk about living in your purpose, really, because obviously you had to be in your purpose for that to happen, right? And a calling, literally, looking and just listening to what you're saying right now, it's a calling that you don't even need to try, right? If somebody just gives you a beat, oh yeah, make this beat sound like, write a song for it to sound like Drake. I'm like, who does that? Like, really? It actually happens? I didn't know. I am not into music. I wouldn't know. And I'm learning as you're speaking right now. I'm like, wow, this is literally a calling. And it's amazing when we get to hear that actually such callings I did not realize either. Like, I'm like,
well, I mean, I'll double down on the concept of a calling for you. When I was younger, I want to say in the year 2000, me and my brothers, JNR, ThandoAmy, we put out an album under the rap group named Cave, right? So we put out this album years ago. People could go find it on Spotify and all that. It's dope. And it was like a Christian rap album, right? And so we put this album out back then, and then I didn't even realize how that trained me for now, because now that I'm writing for television, a lot of what they want you to write, they might say, okay, look, we want you to give us a party record, but it can't have any cussing. It can't talk about sex. It can't talk about drugs. It can't talk about violence, right? And so that's really hard to do when you're trying to write a party record, right? They everything out the party and say, give us a party record. Well, you know what I mean?
Everything that makes a good party.
right. And so what's kind of dope though is I was trained in it. I feel like God trained me years ago to do that, because when I was doing kind of the Christian hip hop thing, I was writing these party records, but obviously you're not cussing, you're not doing any of that. And so now when I needed to do it for television, I'm already knowing it was easy for me. So they were blown away. They were like, how are you doing this? Like, it feels like a party record, even though you're not really, you know what I mean? Like, you're not degrading women or talking crazy. Like, they really make sure. It's a lot of parameters to write these songs. So it can be challenging a lot of times when they tell you what you can't say. So, you know.
And if it's your calling, it's okay. Well, it's hard, but we'll make it happen. Right? And so how has your upbringing, though, influenced your writing and music, really?
So outside of, there's two things. So even right now, if you were to go online, there's DUMISANI MARAIRE, right? That would be the stuff I write for television. And then there's Draze. My upbringing did not influence DUMISANI MARAIRE. My upbringing influenced Draze. It influenced all of my music that I'm doing now as Draze. I'm in the process of putting out an album right now, coming out soon, right? So, but all of the music is Zimbabwean music fused together with hip hop to create a fresh. So it'll be like, you'll hear marimbas, you'll hear mbita on this album. I wanted to give the world a fresh sound, something they've never heard before, right? No one's doing this. No one I know. Maybe there's somebody in Zimbabwe doing it that I don't know, but everybody that I hear is trying to do like trap music, and they're trying to sound American, and that's cool, but they don't always understand that in America is all about, we want to hear you do what you do well, right? It's really like that. Like when you're from the South, we want to hear the South. When you're from the West Coast, we want to hear the West Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're from New York, we want to hear what you do. Like, yo, put me on. Like, what are you into? And so a lot of people don't understand. America would much rather hear you just talk about where you're from, where you eat, what you do, your lifestyle, right? Capture that, put that out there, but it got to be hot though. Like you better have a hot
I can imagine.
And all that. You know what I mean? So that's what it is. America wants to hear that. So I'm giving it to them. I released my first single, Building Black Wealth, actually before COVID. I released Building Black Wealth, and then COVID hit, and then I was about to release the album, and I paused. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because of COVID. And so now what people are hearing, the new single, Born to Win, is out, and it features King Zashe, Owarunga, Kenya. And so that is kind of me going, all right, we're going to put this album out, right? So we got the first single coming out. That's Born to Win. That's out now. A bunch of radio stations in Zimbabwe are playing it. And so now we're going to keep coming. You know?
No, that is so awesome. And even, sorry, excuse me, the fact that you had to take a pause, that's a smart way of thinking, because some people, they're like, oh, this is the moment that I need to do this. This is the moment that I need to do. But then sometimes you need to pause and breathe, because think of how the pandemic affected the whole world, right? It was a game changer for people's lives, myself included, yourself included, everybody. And, it took some people to say, okay, I just want to breathe and think and be innovative and be more creative. Where's the world going? Have a bigger vision, right? And for you to even do that, I was like, okay, I'm listening, I'm learning, and okay, it's all great.
Well, you know what? The pandemic created a bunch of opportunities for me. Number one, I'm glad I didn't put that album out, because it would have flopped. It would have just been a flop, just because the whole world was frozen, and it frozen in a way where we just didn't know how to maneuver, right? We were trying to figure out, what does all of this mean? And there were bigger things. And there were just bigger things to think about in music, right? Like, it's like, yo, shut up. I don't care, right? Like, I want to live, right? Like, am I going to die, or, So, the pandemic was challenging, but what it did do is my song Building Wealth ended up launching into an online television show where I partnered with Layla Ali, Muhammad Ali's daughter. I partnered with Angela Rye, who's like the CNN analyst, and we put out this television show called Building Black Wealth after my song, right? And so the show ended up doing really well. Matter of fact, we're getting ready to do another one coming up here. And so it just, it created a new opportunity. I'll say that. I see the opportunity and tried to say, okay, what can we do with the situation that we're in? Because we can't put out music, you know what I mean? So what else can we do? Well, we got Instagram, and we can go live, and we can talk to people, right? And so you just started exploiting that opportunity, and that's where we're at. So
wow, that is so amazing and great to learn, really. And I am still wowed. I'm still in shock. I am still trying to digest everything right now as you speak. Everything. I'm just trying to digest everything. But at the same time, I am like, wow, I am so proud of the Zimbabweans who are doing the most out here, right, in the diaspora, because not a lot of people know who's who, right? And you just hear, oh, there's a DUMISANI. Okay, who's DUMISANI? Oh, he did this. Really, right? And then you hear there's also Farai in Vancouver, who also did the visuals for Kong versus Godzilla. I'm like, Zim. And then you think, oh, and the wife is an actress. And you're like, Zim, Zimbabweans, we're doing amazing. Like, can we just, support each other and get to know who's who, and just, uplift each other? And it is what it is.
know what? I love it when we help each other. You know,
I love it.
Some folks be acting funny though. You know what I mean? They
Oh,
get out. They got their nose in the air. You be looking like, you know, I'm looking at you like, man, if you don't cut that out, you know what I'm saying? You from the same place I'm from. Cut all of that out. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna address me like a man or a woman. And, you know, you are not too good to talk to me, help me, and I'm not too good to help you. I'm, you know, truthfully, in my home, so many Zimbabweans would come to town and they would stay at our home. Right. Yeah. Or if they needed a place to stay, they come stay with us for days, weeks, or my mama cook for them. I don't know what anybody's doing. We've got Zimbabwean actresses, actors, people doing everything. Look at if they try to front on me, oh yeah, you don't want this problem. You don't smoke with me. Yeah, you're not gonna front on me. What we do, I'm setting the precedence. You come out here, it's show love to one another. We help each other.
Exactly. Not this whole thing now that you're famous. I am going to support you because you're now famous. Like really? No, that's really cool. So we're just going to take a break right about now and we'll come back with the last 15 minutes hanging out with the amazing, funny, by the way. I think, do you do comedy, please?
No.
But no, you're funny, and I am a laugher, which makes it even worse. So I'm like, wow, I am learning a lot, and at the same time, you know, finding humor in all of it, and just enjoying our conversation. And thank you so much for making time to be a part of After 5 Radio. But right about now, we're just going to take a break, and we will be right back for our last 15 minutes, getting to know a little bit more about Dumi, aka Draze. You said women say Draze? Or
yeah, that's how they say it.
No, that is so awesome. But I am going to be playing you his latest single with the talented Awa Arunga as well as King Zashe. Enjoy the song Born to Win.
Studio. I am, you know, mixing, I am mastering, I am finishing up the album. I'm trying to put out this album. I can't give dates because somebody would go off on me, but I can I can say that we are, you know, we're getting really close to putting out a really, really dope album. I'm working with some really dope artists from throughout Africa. Some of them are Zimbabwean. So you'll hear some of Zimbabwe's dope artists are gonna be on this album. You know what I mean? So
I can't wait for that.
We got a few surprises from home, but then we're, you know, I love what Africa's doing as a whole. So I'm rocking with some folks outside of Zim, all throughout Africa, trying to give. What I think is dope about this is it's gonna be what I call like a Zimbabwean hip hop album. I don't know a whole lot of albums that are really. I've created a sound that I call ancestral art, and it's really different. Like on that first single, if you hear, it's themed after there's a choir in the back, right? And so on my first single, Born to Win, that's what I'm speaking of that we played earlier. But with Born to Win, it was actually, the song was taken from a song my father, DUMISANI MARAIRE Sr., taught at the University of Zimbabwe when he was out there teaching, and he was teaching a choir a song in Ndebele. And so I learned the song and had a choir and did all this other stuff. And so I created a hip hop track out of that, right? So there's so much history even in that record alone. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to take something. So many people are leaving our history. We need to preserve our history. Our history is rich. We have to preserve who we are. It's golden. The world wants it, right? And if you don't value it, you know, somebody else will. So we have to value our history.
And what's even funny is you find we've imported so much of the Western culture. We've imported so much of the Western culture, and who's exporting our culture? Who's exporting it? Who's learning it? If we're not going to do it, who else is going to do it? Right?
Listen,
who's gonna know us?
I was at a concert. There was I'm sorry, I speak very frankly. So I'm at a concert where there's
no, don't be sorry. You're on Tough Love Giggles.
There was a white guy who he's not Zimbabwean, and he was just like standing on stage with this crowd screaming. He had an Mbita in his hand, and he puts it up to the sky, and he was just like, "We need to turn this into the most popular instrument, just like the guitar," right? And the whole crowd was just screaming like, "Yeah!" You know what I mean? Yeah. Wow. And it's not that I agree or disagree, but my point is that's not your call, homie.
Yeah.
Right? You need to sit down and let us.
I like that.
Let us decide what to do with that, right? And so, but the point is, to my point earlier, if you don't love what is yours, someone else will see the value in it. It's like
absolutely.
Yeah, it's like a good woman. A man who doesn't love a good woman, somebody else will. You know what I'm saying? So,
louder, please. I can't hear you. I like that statement. I like that example. I love it. I love it. I love it. And you heard it for yourselves, guys. We better value it. We need to start valuing our culture if we do not yet value it. And earlier on, I even played a song by the late Dr. Oliver Mtukudzi, who actually said, "Your color is black. You will never change. Be proud of who you are. Like, you will never change. You see people bleaching. You're like, really? Why would you do that? Like, love you, right? And then take your culture with you and your color with you and say, I am proud and black."
You know, man,
black and proud of black.
When I hear that, it always saddens me when I hear about bleaching and stuff like that. For me, I'm like, you know, colonization was such
it was so bad.
It is such a deep-rooted, the ramifications are so vast. And when I say that, I mean slavery and colonization, because it's all extension of the same system.
Right.
And I'm blessed to be able to kind of see both. Right. And what I mean by that is I don't fit anywhere, right? I know that. I get it.
You do. I feel like you do, because clearly if you can actually associate with where you really come from, you can actually sing Zim, you can actually sing with Zimbabwean, you fit there. And then you can actually associate with America, and you're like, okay, you're so blessed, dude. Like, I don't know.
You know what? When I say I don't fit, it's just like, you know, I still have to deal with what anybody has to deal with. So if I'm in America, you know what I mean? The truth is, I'm not the descendant of a slave, right?
That's true.
And that matters. That matters, right? I'm from the hood. I'm from the same hood as my homie. I don't have the same hole in me that they have.
That's
I know
true.
it because I connect with them, and I'm like, yo, like you got a hole in you, right? And I remember even when I wrote the song "Born in the Wind," the single is based on the reality of my experience. When I talk about having nappy hair coming back from Zimbabwe, there's more to that. I had an accent. There's much more to the story. I have this accent as a kid, and the kids are laughing at me. I remember telling the kids here, the black kids, they're like, yo, you know you're from Africa too. And they're like, no, I'm not.
No, I'm not.
I'm from Mississippi. You know what I mean? It's like, no, you're not, homie. You know what I mean? You're from, you know what I'm saying? You're from Liberia, homie. You know what I'm saying? You're really dark. I can tell you where you're from Senegal. Okay, so cut it out. You know. So, but I was having these conversations with these kids, right?
Right.
And that was my experience. It was real though. Right. And it was traumatizing for me because I'm a grown man now. I can say that with pride, but as a kid, when you're on the bus riding to school and all the black kids don't identify with being African, and then they're like, yo, you're an African booty scratcher, right? I was called all these, right? This was my life, right? So I'm called all of these names, right?
Wow.
And then you go back to Zimbabwe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Your accent.
Yeah, we don't speak Shona. We're speaking English. They're looking at you like, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? Yeah.
You're being too full of yourself. Like, who do you think you are?
Yeah. I'm just like, yo, I'm like 5. How are you bothered? Why are you bothering me? Like, yo. And so, like, you know, and so, you know, it was, but I learned later back to in our first segment, we talked about a calling. Right. That was my calling. God sent me somewhere to live, to come back to Zimbabwe, to create a bridge, right? And he gave me a mother who was smart enough, wise enough, brave enough to say, I know you're in America, but I'm going to give you your culture. He gave me a father who was smart enough, brave enough, wise enough to say, I'm going to teach you how to play these instruments, how to know your culture. You're going to listen to this music. They didn't want to listen to the Boonda Boys and all of them. Man, we was trying to listen to NWA.
Major players.
Yeah, I was like, oh, listen, throw some hip hop on. You know, I'm in the hood, man. My friends are like, yo, turn that off, homie. You know, and it took a while, right? And then as you do it longer, you start to be like, yo, this is hot. I don't care what you say. And then my friends started being like, yo, turn that one song on, right? They don't even know, like, what is that? You know, when they say, what is that Quay song, right? They just like, this is true stories, right? Yo,
it's from Kuvuki land. Like, okay, I'm proud.
And so, I don't know. So I just wanted to say that really was my story. And so Born to Win, my new single, was based out of that experience. Me saying, I lived in America, I lived in Africa, but I got this bridge. And so I'm trying to create music that can be a bridge to show these African Americans that you're really Africans, and to show Africans.
I like that. It is what it is. Like,
yeah, I mean, the only difference in you and me is a boat ride, homie. Like, we are literally the same people. You know what I mean? So fall back with all of that nonsense. You are African in America. You're no different.
Right. So with our last 5 minutes, do you mind just giving us one of your most memorable moments? Like, we've heard your journey, we've heard your work, we've heard like especially TV and writing for TV and music as well. With all that being done, what has been one of your most memorable moments?
My most memorable moment? That is I don't know.
Every day is a memory, I guess.
I'm a deep person, so my most memorable moments are like simple. You know, it's like my daughter, my daughter's Nyasha Maraire, nice. Her being born, her being in the studio, so she does music herself, so she is quite the artist right now. And so she's an actress as well as an artist. I'm pretty sure you guys will see her in something soon because she works really hard.
Nice.
And so my most memorable moment, I would say, would be like her. She was in a play where she was like the lead role and she just killed it, right? And so I'm seeing my baby girl up there and I'm like, yo.
And how old is she?
My daughter's old. She's 20. She's a grown.
Did you say old? Excuse me?
She's 20. That's old to me. Like, she's not 15. She's not 5, but
she's a grown woman.
Yeah, she's a grown woman. She's a grown woman. So
oh wow. No, we will follow. I will follow her, look her up and support her. And like you're saying, to me, support is huge, and that's the best thing that we can actually do for ourselves, because guess what, we're Zimbabweans and we're so talented, and the more we support each other, the more we're seen and the more we work harder, I find, and just enjoy our craft, right? And I grew up in a culture, Zimbabwe, you already know, but maybe because you have a musical background would have been different, whereby back home, entertainment, you can't take entertainment as a career. I've had that challenge most of my life, right? And then now you see Corona has actually brought up all the artists in Zimbabwe to say we have so much talent, not even just in Zimbabwe, even overseas here, Zimbabweans out here. Me being a part of After Five Radio, I am learning new people, new artists. I was like, wow, where is this person from? Really? What are they singing? And I get to hang out with a whole lot of people. Here's you today, right? And it's really cool, and I love it. So just one last question for people to follow you and get your music. Now that we know who is Dumi Maraire Jr., aka Draze, where can we follow this guy? Where can we support this guy? And how best can we listen to your music, your social handles, and your streaming platforms?
You know what? Find me everywhere at the Draze Experience. So when I say Draze, it's DRAZE. So the Draze Experience, or just Draze Experience. So Facebook, it's Draze. On Instagram, it's the Draze Experience. On Twitter, it's Draze Experience. And that's, I mean, I'm there. Reach out. People hit me in my inbox all the time from Zim. I hit them back, And so to your sentiment, I just want to say we got to support each other. That's what I'm about. Let's rock and roll, man, and we take Zim to the next level. And we have to rebuild the industry in Zim. I am committed to that. I am committed not only to doing that myself, but to working with other Zimbabwean artists, because we don't need to be looking to America to blow us up and do anything. Now we can blow up 100 different Zimbabwean artists, but when we blow you up, you got to go back and invest. You do not get to get your money, sell off into the sunset, and live the good life. No.
I know. Give back and invest in our own country. Thank you so much, Draze. We really appreciate it. And it was such a huge honor to hang out with you here, and a pleasure at the same time, because I was dying. If anybody has never told you that you can do comedy, here you are. I was laughing my ass off.
You know what? I'm going to have you tell my daughter, because she says I think I'm funny, but she says I'm not funny. So
no, I think it's the moment and the tone of him to say, oh, I'm funny. But no, Dad. I would say no. But no, you're so amazing. And I just love your energy. I love the way you're so down to earth. And it was just a pleasure and an honor to have you here on After Five Radio.
Thank you.
All righty. You take care, and God bless you.
Thanks. God bless.
All right. Take care.